Once a primordial force, known as the firebringer, rose from the depths of the elemental chaos, wielding power beyond mortal comprehension. Fire burned in his heart as he sought to sow chaos, spreading death, destruction, and despair wherever he went. A sadistic master of the flame, he delighted in the suffering of those who crossed his path, drawing out their agony for his own entertainment. Wily and clever, he wielded deception and diplomacy with the same ease as he did fire, promising power and wealth to those who aided him. All would bow before the fury of Bazim-Gorag. In the year of Oaths Forsaken, a cabal of wizards cast out from Netheril formed an arcane college atop a ruined dwarf stronghold, Andalbruin, in the foothills of the Forest Hills. They built a village and a tower to hold their college of magic, which they called Selskatur, or the Tower of the Star. But in the year of the rumbling earth, a troll warlord named Harskathog amassed an army of savage humanoids and descended from the north upon the elves of Rilithar, and the Tower of the Star stood directly in the troll lord's path. In his desperation, the master of this tower, the Armagus Ilvarun, cast a gate spell and summoned the Slaad lord Bazim-Gorag to destroy Harskathog's army. Larger than an ogre, this hulking creature combines the features of a muscular human and a frog or toad. Its skin a mottled red gold, and two frog-like heads sprout from its shoulders, each with a gaping maw full of sharp teeth. It carries a huge glaive of black iron wreathed in dark flame. Bazim-Gorag is a Slaad lord, one of the most powerful Slaadi in existence, tainted by the same malignant forces that transform Grey Slaadi into Death Slaadi. Slaad being the frog-like natives of Limbo. They are beings of pure neutral and evil chaos. Like the other Slaad lords, Bazim-Gorag is a champion of chaos. Slaad lords are likely as old as the multiverse itself, although it is not known how any of them were created. These beings are nearly immortal. Bazim-Gorag, like the other Slaad lords, hunger to spread chaos through unchecked destruction, murder, woe, and in Bazim-Gorag's case, fire. He creates conflagrations and wields fire with all the malevolent glee of a mighty red dragon. As he was summoned, Bazim-Gorag obliged the Armagus, driving the troll horde from the valley. But the price the Slaad lord demanded in payment for his services was high, and when Ilvarun balked, Bazim-Gorag attacked, raising the Tower of the Star and slaying several of its senior wizards. Ilvarun retaliated by luring Bazim-Gorag into a trap and imprisoning him via a powerful binding spell cast in cooperation with several of their surviving wizards. He was trapped in a chamber beneath the burned-out tower. As part of the binding, he set the conditions for Bazim-Gorag's rite of unbinding, but he told no one the formula. In the following winter, Harskathog, the Troll Lord, returned with an even greater army, and once more the Armagus was forced to turn to Bazim-Gorag for aid. But when the Slaad Lord demurred, Ilvarun was forced to confront the Troll Horde alone, and in the ensuing battle, he was slain. And with him died the secret rite of the unbinding needed to free Bazim-Gorag from his prison. Harskathog completed the destruction of the tower that Bazim-Gorag had begun. In the centuries since the fall of that tower, numerous adventuring parties have explored the upper levels of the Citadel, which has come to be known as the Dungeon of the Ruins, without ever discovering Bazim-Gorag's prison. Then, some odd years later, a group called the Company of the Riven Orb unearthed his hidden vault, but were unable to free him from his magical prison. Since that time, Bazim-Gorag has managed to lure dozens of evil beings into his service. Calling themselves the Acolytes of the Hidden Flame, they have been working diligently to discover the rite of unbinding that will free their lord. Bazim-Gorag is the culmination of a lot of different things. He is a Slaadi lord, is also an elemental lord. 4th edition places his origins as an ascended Batrachi, a race of frog-like creatures with shape-changing abilities dedicated to pure chaos. He is chance incarnate, invoked by the powerless, the gamblers, and anyone who has lost hope in anything but an impossible twist of fate. As mentioned before, he is one of these elemental primordial lords who rule within the elemental chaos. All of these elemental lords are unaligned, except for Bazim-Gorag, who is chaotic evil. Since he is a being of chaos, the firebringer is a harbinger of ruin, and he wants nothing more than to see everything around him burn. Bazim-Gorag has come to hate Faerun, the realm of his long imprisonment, with the vitriolic ire that can only be sated with a burning the likes of which the North has never seen. If only he can be freed to wreak his vengeance. Since his years of imprisonment, he has been able to amass quite a large cult in the Acolytes of the Hidden Flame. Nearly 50 evil followers who have dedicated themselves wholly to both freeing him and spreading his chaos. Some were drawn by his promises of reward, both in treasure and power, while others are simply attracted by the prospect of chaos and destruction that his freedom would release upon the North. And some of these beings even hope to bend Bazim-Gorag to their will, just like the Armagus Ilvarun. Knowledge of the rite of the unbinding was lost, of course, with Ilvarun's death, though eventually a new devotee of the Acolytes, a Durzagon wizard named Durzhul, completed a legend lore spell that revealed the necessary steps. Ilvarun gave his binding spell additional strength by specifying a rite of unbinding. The requisite conditions for the completion of the rite are as follows. 3 wizards, 1 chaotic, 1 neutral, and 1 lawful, must perform the rite. The rite must be performed in an area uncovered by the company of the Riven Orb called the Chamber of Binding, which lies deep beneath the Dungeon of the Ruins. Each participant in turn must recite a specific set of arcane phrases and invocations in Loras, in the ancient language of High Netheril. Additionally, one of the 3 wizards must hold the Scepter of the Armagus, which is currently in Bazim-Gorag's lair. All 3 wizards must cast Dismissal at the end of this rite. The Prison of the Firebringer adventure chronicles the story of the Durzagon wizard named Durzhul and the Acolytes attempting to free Bazim-Gorag. In the end, of course, it comes down to the players. So of course we do not know the true ending to this story, or if the rite was ever completed. Essentially there are 2 endings that could be possible, making Bazim-Gorag's story from this point up to interpretation, until we know what happened. The first is any sort of defeating the Acolytes or walling off Bazim-Gorag's lair, of which, of course, Bazim-Gorag would still be trapped in his lair under the ruins. But it is possible to free Bazim-Gorag, as he is nothing if not reasonable. Bazim-Gorag, of course, makes his best efforts to convince them, the party, that he should be free. And while he is a being of chaos and evil, he does make a compelling argument. As he tells his side of the story, he was called upon against his will by the Gate spell, unjustly imprisoned by the ancient wizards, followed through with his side of the bargain, defeating their enemies, and they refused to live up to the bargain they'd made with him. Therefore, freeing him would simply right an ancient wrong. If this is enough to sway the PCs to decide to help the Firebringer escape, he fulfills his word and gives the players his hoard. He does not kill or attack them on his way out. He leaves. But then he becomes free amongst the prime material plane that he abhors. Freed, he would rampage throughout the North for months, bringing untold suffering and woe to towns nearby. Bazim-Gorag is of course extremely deadly, and doesn't need his followers to do his fighting for him. He doesn't attack as recklessly as one might think. He does recognize foes from friends. In fact, the Slaad Lord even often uses a shape change ability to approach potential allies in a non-threatening guise, usually that of a tall, handsome lord with red hair and bronze armor. He is willing to offer power, wealth, even a promise of future service to attain what he wants. Bazim-Gorag has 2 brains and 2 personas. One brain can direct his body while the other engages in completely unrelated activities, such as conversation or the use of his spell-like abilities. In fact, Bazim-Gorag is treated as 2 independent creatures for purposes of targeting with mind effects. And for now, Bazim-Gorag sits in his prison, seething with hatred for the realm that imprisoned him. His acolytes only grow in number. They tirelessly seek that right, that once found or refound will release him. It is only a matter of time before Bazim-Gorag is freed to resume sowing chaos and destroying the world he has grown to despise.